Welcome to Flowing Flexibility. The premise of this class, if you've never taken this before, is it's not a yoga class. What we do is we take the more scientific approach to stretching and the concept of opening up flexibility, which is a little bit misunderstood. I come from a dance background, of course, and so stretching has very much been a fundamental part of my regimen. And it's important to understand when you go into a flexibility class to address and to recognize why it is that you came in the first place, because there's different methods for different outcomes. So a lot of people come into a flexibility class or a stretching class or something like this because they want to maintain their body, get over injuries, create space in their joints for proper functionality, those kind of things. Those are all very important. And so you're going to find for those types of goals, you're going to find the end of the class a little bit more effective because we do a lot more passive and a little bit more static stretching. For those of you that are here to open up flexibility and increase mobility overall, you're going to find a little bit more effectiveness in the first part of the class, and that's where most of the misunderstandings lie. We think that if we just go into a position and we hold it, then the muscle just gets longer and longer, and that's not the truth in flexibility training. If you're trying to open up flexibility to learn how to, say, do the splits, for example, you're going to find that through more dynamic flexibility, which usually has your muscles themselves taking them into those ranges of motion. So your body is owning those positions rather than just kind of like beating your body into submission. So before we get started, I always like to stress that you should be gauging how deep the stretch is or how painful the stretch is on a scale of 1 to 10, and I'll kind of cue from there. So 10 being absolutely excruciating. In this class, you should never, ever, ever get to a 10, because what you're doing when the muscle is lengthening, it's the stopping or the pain sensation or the flexing of the muscle is a neuromuscular response. It's not just that, oh, my muscle is this long and then it just stops, and so if I stretch it like a rubber band, then it's just going to get longer. That's a misconception. If you go to a level 10 in pain in this class, then you're teaching your body that it's going to be abused, and your body is going to contract, and you may end up losing flexibility in this class. So always aim, especially for the passive stretches at the very, very end, you always want to aim for about a 6 or a 7 in overall pain, because from there the body will learn, okay, this joint position is okay, and then neuromuscularly it'll start to feed in responses that allow that new range of motion. So it's about respect as we go through this. So never a level 10 out of pain in your stretching for this particular class, okay? And you'll find that the flow of the class goes from more dynamic stuff, and then towards the end it gets more passive and a little bit more, we hold the stretches a little bit longer, etc., etc. So that's the concept behind this class. As far as what you're going to need, I would say go ahead and grab some sort of an elevated device. This is good for modifications if you need them. There will be some, everybody's mapped out differently as far as where we hold tension and tightness in our joints. So it's always good to have an option. You may not need it, but it's good to have. So I use a yoga block because you've got several levels of height that you can choose from. A foam roller works really good. Also, a sturdy book. Anything that's about 4 to 6 inches should be totally fine, but just make sure that it's a stable surface. A foam roller is a little unstable, but for the stuff that we're going to be doing, it'll be totally fine. Okay, so just make sure you have that as an out so that you don't hit those level 10s. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with some dynamic, what I call flows. It's not like a yoga flow, so don't expect it to be like that. What we're going to do is we're going to start off by just opening up the joints in the most passive way we can by using movement. What I'd like to do is get some floor space underneath you. We're going to be doing some leg swings to begin. I'd like for you to sit kind of in a crunch position and let the arms just float out by your side. So you've got a wide base of support and you can feel your shoulders connecting to the ground. Let the jaw and the throat open up, and then as you start to feel comfortable, let the knees just drop from one side to the other. So initially, when we start to do a movement like this, we think about, okay, well, I've got to get my knees over here, and then I got to get my knees over here. But I'd like for this to be more passive. So can you actually let it be like the bones are swinging like a pendulum? And this is about identifying. As you let the pendulum swing, and especially as the knees fall, can you feel any muscles reacting and wanting to tighten up to protect the joint? That stretch reflex is exactly what we're going to be trying to work through today. So if you can let this be about the bones dropping more than anything, you'll be able to release more into this. So take that intrinsic awareness of yours and just kind of feel the muscles around the hips, around the low back, all the way up through the spine. Can the bones just go with the flow and not manage the situation? When you feel like you've got everything kind of swinging all on its own, just like a pendulum, you can take the opposite leg as it falls and sweep it across. So you're adding a little bit more dynamic to it. It doesn't have to be big, but one leg is just kind of traveling, making a little circle, replanting, and then traveling to the other side. Again, as passive as you can make this. We're going to kind of make a string of little exercises here. I'm going to add more movements on top of this, but this is going to be our base, our check-in. Can you check in to make sure nothing is holding, nothing is managing any of this? Start to find a breath that kind of feels like it's appropriate for the swing. For me, it's an exhale every time the leg comes across. And then the next time that your legs go to the side that is closest to your screen, to where you can see me, go ahead and let it hold into a stretch. So go and hold on to that knee and just hold a nice passive opening stretch. Take about 2 deep exhales. Every exhale is an opportunity to lengthen the arm further away from the stretch, maybe deepen the stretch through the knee, dropping to the floor. Then from here, we're going to add on a floating of the shoulders. Now the arm is going to trace over the top of the head, and the body is going to collapse over onto your side. So just like what we did with the legs, can you have this be about the bones of the shoulder just releasing? Almost like you're melting up and over as the arm swings over your head, opening to your twist, and then down in front of your face. And that's not just the moving shoulder that is relaxing, you're feeling the one that you're laying on just kind of release as well. Then from here, hold your side position. Now I want you to switch the arms. So the one that you're laying on is going to go up. The top one is going to go down and grab your knee, float it down to your ankle, and just find a traditional sideline quad stretch. We're going to put some activity into this one. This is that dynamic I was talking about. So once you've, so the stretch is not about trying to pull the ankle into your butt. The stretch really is trying to push the kneecap down away from your belly button. So the dynamic of down is more important. Your arm is just holding the quadricep in place. Just breathe into that. I'm going to throw one more stretch on top of it. And this is the one where people usually like to go really, really full throttle with this stretch. Remember, 6 out of 10 in pain. From here, you're going to bend the knee into the chest, take a hold of the ankle, and extend it up. I like to flex my foot here because it does pull on the hamstring just a little bit more, but you can do it with a relaxed foot, pointed foot, whatever feels good to you is fine. Then from here, you're going to flip the knee back into your quadricep stretch. Then switch the arms, unfold, and you're back in your twist. So that is your first little flow that we're going to do. Come back to your pendulum swing. We're going to do the other side. So you're going to be facing away from me for this next one. The next time that your legs fall to the opposite side twist, go ahead and hold it there and breathe. You're going to take 2 more deep breaths, just like we did on the other side. Every exhale, reaching the arm away from the twist and letting the knee drop a little bit more. The next thing that we did was the arm that is stretching is going to circle over the head until you're side lying. So remember, shoulder bones just kind of floating in space. Go ahead and take it over until it's in front of your face, and then open the arm back up. Going from your twists almost into kind of a fetal position, and just feeling the shoulder bones relax. Go as slow or as fast as you want to. And then the next time that you come into that side-lying fetal position, we're going to go for that quadricep stretch and then that leg stretch overhead. So come to the side position. Switch the arms. So the bottom arm is going to be above, and the top arm is going to go and reach from the knee down to the ankle, and then push the kneecap away from your belly button, lengthening all the way through the front of the quadricep, the hip flexor, all of that stuff. So this is a very, very active downward stretching. And then the last little thing that we put on top of this was the leg stretch. So from here, go ahead and pull the knee back up to the chest, and then grab the ankle or shin or whatever's comfortable, and then straighten the leg, not looking for anything more painful than that 6 out of 10. I know we love to go for the glory on these kind of exercises where we pull the legs super, super high. Don't do that. The knee doesn't even have to be straight. It could be a little bit bent. As long as you feel that opening of the hip and the stretch in the hamstring, you're A-okay. Now we're going to retrograde back through that sequence. Go back to your quad stretch. Switch the arms. And let that top arm unfold you back into your leg swing. So that sequence, leg swing, leg swing into the arm over the twist, the arm over the top, the quad stretch, and the leg stretch. We're just going to repeat that, going as slow or as fast as you want to for 1 solid minute. That's it. So just try to get your right and your left side within that 1 minute. If you want to go faster, you can totally do that. So 1 minute starts right now. Go for it. Leg swing, find your twist. And feel free to hold anywhere that you want to. The next move was the arm over the top. Then the arm switches. Quad stretch. And flip the leg to the hamstring stretch. Coming back to quad stretch. Flip the arms. Float back to your leg swing to the other side. Find the twist. Flip the arm over, loose shoulder bones, switch the arms, quad stretch. Flip the leg. Back to your quad stretch. Flip the arms. Shoulder bones take you back, leg bones follow through. So that's been about a minute. So if you wanted to go a little bit faster, you can totally do that. And just as a PS, that stretch flow that you just did was my opening stretch that I did before every performance that I've ever done as a dancer. It's the perfect one to do in the morning, so if you're ever looking for mobility, that's a really good go-to. So you can put that one in your back pocket, save that one for later. We are going to go and do another flow. This one is a little bit more dynamic. We're going to go into a downward dog. Now, I am not a yogi. I will be using yoga terminology as we get into this, but and if you are a yogi, don't be insulted. I come from a dance background, so we kind of use the same terminology, but we approach them differently. So if you're a purist, I totally get it. Right? Do what you need to do. I'll be calling out pigeon. My pigeon style is a dancer's pigeon, etc., etc. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go from the downward dog position, which in bar we call a pike. And I'd like for you to press the heels down into the floor. Feet are about shoulder width apart. I want to go a little bit wider. You'll see why when you start to see what I'm connecting with this one. Feel the shoulders press into the ground. Feel the forehead relax. And feel the lengthening of the sides of the neck. Heels press into the ground. Sits bones press and reach all the way up to flatten out the low back. So you're just creating space. From here, what I want you to do is push both hands into the floor. We're going to take one leg all the way up, squeeze the butt, and then back down. Trying to go slow. And for this one, I like to not think of this as like I'm trying to prove any points. I'm just trying to feel my glute muscle, the big house, like a stress ball, squeezing to lift the leg as the thigh bones drive apart. So there should be no launching. This is about muscle, not momentum. So the next time you go to whatever side is more comfortable for you, hold it up there, push the arms into the floor a little bit more, and then from here we're going to go a little bit into a side lean. So we're going to bend the knee and let the foot almost fall over to one side. So you're stretching all the way through one side of your body. Bring it back up to that extension and then back down. Try that on the other side.
So this is going to be the first part of a flow. Up and over, bend the knee, bring it back up, and then come on down. From here, the second piece of the puzzle is going to be a half camel. So from here, one hand is going to go to the same side ankle. We're going to push the hips up as the arm drives over. So squeeze the butt and push over the top. So this is a nice hip flexor opener, and then bring it back down. So there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of push going into my ankle complex to create that force. And then from there, however high I can get my hips, it may not be very high, but just as long as the butt is squeezing, we're doing good work. Go ahead and take it to the other side. Press it up and over. The arm and the reach back, that's just if your body can handle it. It really is about what's happening in the hips and the thighs, okay? That's movement number 2. Movement number 3, we're going to go into a dancer's pigeon. Hands are going to come forward into quadricep. Sneak one leg forward, the other leg drives back. And then from there, lay on top of it. Now, pigeon is a very, very interesting discussion. My yogis, I know that they're very specific about 90-degree angle. That's not what we're doing here. We're trying to find that 6 out of 10 in the stretch, provided the knee joint feels okay. If you feel any creakiness in the knee joint, guess what? Or if your flexibility is not letting you, this is where your elevation device comes in. So if you want to go into the pigeon and it's too aggressive for you, place that elevation device underneath your hip on the front leg, so that you can facilitate a little bit more of a release into the stretch. Okay? And then come on back up. Find your quadruped and switch to the other side. One knee forward, drive the back thigh back, and then tip forward. So we're feeling each of these poses. We're going to go through a flow again. It's going to be one leg dominant. I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. But we're going to get through all 3 of those poses at the same time. From here, go through your quadruped, and we're going to be doing this flow for a total of 2 minutes. Again, as slow or as fast as you want to, so that you can maneuver the elevation device if you need it. Okay, so what this looks like. Downward dog, or pike. My left leg is going to extend up. It's going to tip over. It's going to extend back up. It's going to come down. So if I did my left leg over, my left leg is what I'm going to hold on to as I go into my half camel. Come back down. The left leg is going to come forward from my quadruped for that pigeon. Hold it as long as you want to. Come on back up, find your quadruped, and then you're set up to go to your downward dog. Then I go to the right leg. Tip over. Bring it up, bring it back down. Left leg, or right leg, bring it all the way up and over to your half camel, and then that left leg comes into your dancer's pigeon, okay? 2 minutes to flow through that sequence, stopping anywhere you feel like you need it. Everybody's gonna be a little bit different, and I'm not gonna micromanage you, all right? Here we go. Going through this, let's go ahead and start in your quadruped position. 2 minutes total, starts in 3, 2, and 1. Downward dog, press. Choose a leg to be the dominant leg. Tip it over. Remember, you can go on my timing or go on the timing of your own. Extend up. Bring it down. Grab that same ankle. Half camel. Press and squeeze the butt to lengthen the low back. Bring it back up. Quadruped to pigeon, same leg. And then come back up. Downward dog. So this is an example of dynamic flexibility, not just because we continuously are moving. It's not just because we're learning a sequence that is choreographed, right? It's because if you notice, every one of these stretches, gravity is not taking me into the position. I don't have a partner pulling me to the position, meaning that there's no external force that's navigating the pull of the stretch. Each one of these, my musculature is taking me in and out of the position. You have about time to go right and left one more time if you're following my pace. Oop, wrong leg. Maybe out time for one more sequence. Go ahead and wrap it up, whichever one you need to do. And then when you're ready to come back to a neutral place, and just breathe. So that's the dynamic of it. Again, these flows are really, really great ones. If you're looking for a morning sequence to do, this is the type of stuff to do in the morning that's really great. Also as a warm-up, it's a really, really great way to kind of open everything up and get everything integrated. We are going to go for active isolated stretching on the hamstring. Woo! This is going to be so exciting. Have your elevated device handy. We're going to start in a lunge position. Start it by squaring off your hips, and then we're going to come down and forward. We'll start by just kind of dropping the hips as low as possible. I've got my elevated device just kind of there for emotional support. If you need to, you can go without, and you can have something like a hand on your thigh, but we want the chest to be upright for this one. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into your hamstring on this side. So we're going to push into a forward hamstring stretch. You can have your hands on the elevated device. You can have your hands on the floor. I wouldn't recommend having your hand on the thigh because you can overflex the knee. So I would say go for floor support or external support for this, okay? We're going to be stretching the hamstring. Option to go for a split if you feel okay. That is completely optional, but you'll have time to do it if you want to explore that. What we're going to do is an active isolated, just like we did with the pigeon. We're going to do that in this position. So really quickly, let's go back to that forward lunge. Chest comes upright, square off the hips, and press it forward. We've done a lot of like hip flexor and glute stretching today. So you might feel a little bit wobbly. You might feel a little bit more loosened up in these areas. That would be a good thing. And then come on back, press through to your hamstring stretch. Now fold forward, trying to keep your hip from opening out. You want to keep the hip forward, and then just kind of rock through the foot, flex to point, flex to point. As you flex the foot, you're going to feel that hamstring stretch intensify. I want you to find your 6 out of 10. So that could be with your foot pointed, that could be with your foot flexed, it could be with your knee slightly bent. Find your 6. Now from here, try to relax the torso, and you're going to imagine you're on that floor of silly putty again. And this time I want to increase the indentation or the imprint and the silly putty with my feet. So my heel is going to dig into the floor by pushing the long leg. The hamstring is going to try and push the whole leg down into the ground. So you're intensifying the pressure. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 4 in the amount of pressure you're pushing. Let's go and do that now if you're not already starting. Push into the floor and then just kind of give yourself about 2 deep breaths, feeling the activation. You're going to feel a little activation in your calf because it's connected, but we want to feel the activation in the hamstring muscle, the muscle that we're stretching, without changing your position. It's a little trickier in this one because sometimes what happens is we curve the back as we flex. Try not to let that happen. Keep the back nice and stretched and just feel the muscle we're stretching, activate it. And then after a couple of breaths, relax and try and deepen the stretch, either by going deeper down in the torso or by flexing the foot a little harder. So we're opening that stretch just a little bit more after that active push. And one more breath. Come on back up to that same hinge lunge. Now we're going to repeat that again for only 30 seconds. Now if you are somebody who wants to go for your full throttle split, these are the stretches that usually get you there. So if you want to go for it, go ahead. You don't have to, all right? So we're going to repeat that again. Go back down, find a 6 out of 10, 2 breaths, go and push into the floor, and then release and try and go deeper. Or use your elevated device. If you're going to go for the split, just go ahead and shoot that leg forward, and the elevated device would go somewhere underneath the front leg, probably up at the sit bone. And just try and keep your hips square, and just breathe. Completely up to you if you want to do this. This is totally optional. I'm saving time for it for those of you that want to do it. But otherwise, continue that active isolated stretch and just breathe. About one more deep breath and come on out of it. Bend both knees. Get ready to go to the other side. So start off in your lunge. So just so you can kind of gauge how you want to go through this, we're going to go about 30 seconds here, about 30 seconds here, add the flex of the foot, active isolated, dig in the heel for about 2 breaths or so, and then try to deepen the stretch a little bit more. Come back up, we do it again, and then the second time through we'll go for the split. Lickety split. Yeah. Here we go. Starting with the lunge, square off the hips, and push it forward. Try to release the hip flexor. So for those of you that are going for the split stretch, this muscle is every bit as important as this muscle in the stretch. Usually people stretch their hamstrings to high heaven, right? And their hip flexors remain tight and they can never get down to their split. Or they end up hinging out and splaying in their split, and that's not good. And then bring it back down, hinge into your hamstring stretch. Find that level 6 out of 10. If you're feeling like you want to, go ahead and play with the flex and the point of the foot, just to intensify the stretch down through the lower leg muscles. All right, find the stretch that you're willing to commit to. Now from here, 2 breaths. I'd like for you to dig the heel into the ground. So the whole leg is pushing into the ground, so you're flexing your hamstring. So the hamstring is going to push from the hip. This is also a weird thing about the hamstring. People usually think that the hamstring only bends the knee. It doesn't. The hamstring at the top also extends the hip. So the hip pushing down from the thigh bone, that's your hamstring, along with your glute. So you don't have to make any activity in the knees to make this push happen. Then from there, release the muscle, no more dig, and just try and go a little bit deeper into the stretch. And remember, you can either pitch the torso forward more or flex the foot more. Both of them work. And then from here, go ahead and bring it all the way up into that lunge again. Just trying to push the hips down into the ground, maintaining squared off hips. Now either repeat what we just did, 2 breaths, hold the stretch, 2 breaths, active isolated push, and then 2 breaths, go a little bit deeper into the stretch, maybe 3 breaths, maybe 4. Otherwise, we can go for the split on the other side. Here we go. Let's wrap it up. About 30 seconds total. Go ahead and slide into your split using the elevator device or not. I find this is a good way to kind of keep it passive. I see a lot of people do this thing, but you're kind of contracting your abdominals, which pulls on your hip flexor, right? Here, you can just sit, and if you need to find a higher elevator device, do it. It's much better to go into this a little bit more passive so that your abs don't flex and then pull on your hip flexor. Just breathe through it. About 10 more seconds. And start to ease up. Bend both knees. And slowly bring yourself back to a neutral position.
And otherwise, that is all that I have for you. Thanks for being here with me. Feel free to take away any information from this class that you learned about your body, any areas that surprised you were super tight, or anything that felt very good. This class is a class that kind of gives homework. Like, be aware. Don't walk away from this class just saying, oh, well, that's done, because you're not going to be able to solve all the world's problems in one 45-minute class, right? So we got to take these classes and try to learn from them and give ourselves homework. Maybe find one of those stretches and do them for 5 minutes 2 times this week. You'll start to see your body change. It'll be a good thing. That's all that I have for you. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much. Hey, did you enjoy class? I hope so. So if you're interested in taking more classes with me, there's tons of ways to sign up. So to get yourself into class, all you gotta do is decide if you want to do a membership or if you want to do class by class. If you want to go class by class, you just buy 5 class pass, 10 class pass, 20 class pass, however you want, or you can opt to be a member. There are 2 types of membership. You can either be a full access member where you get access to everything, all the classes on demand anytime, plus the full video library of constantly updated classes. I record every class I do every week, and you'll have access to take those classes anytime you want. We also have the video only membership, which gives you the option to have access to that full library without going to the full throttle membership. Now that's for people who might have more unpredictable schedules, or maybe the class times don't work for you. That option is available to you as well. Plus, with membership, you also get access to full discounts. You get access to a lot of giveaways, tons of options with memberships. And you can choose from a huge variety of class types, from flexibility training classes like flowing flexibility, foam roll, all the way to strength conditioning, bar classes, ballotone classes, or some of the high intensity interval training like HIIT, Tabata. All that stuff is available to you. And just by having an active pass of any kind, either a membership or a class pass, you have access to an updated library of classes the whole time, whenever you want. And just by participating, you get to be a part of the rewards program, which is points that go directly towards dollars, which you can put towards free fitness gear, free classes, special events, membership payments, all kinds of stuff. So points equals dollars. You get points just simply by taking class, by being there, by showing up, by helping share on social media the things that you did with Ken Scott Fitness. Tons of ways to get points, tons of ways to spend them. Super fun, and it's super engaging as well. So I hope you like what you saw, and if you ever have any questions, you can reach out to me at ken@kenscottfitness.com. I'd love to hear from you, and hopefully I'll see you in class.